Ciao doodles!
Welcome to Spring Veg Lasagna. So this is a beautiful vegan white lasagna. And it's nice kind of notes of spring in it. There's mint, there's lemon zest. It's simple, it's easy, it's delicious.
Vegan! This is part of our Marcheroni or Springuini pasta series. So we're shooting 8 pasta recipes. They're all vegan, they're quick, they're easy. There's some more elaborate ones, breaking it down and making them all vegan.
Okay, first step, pan on high heat.
We're gonna add in about 1.5 tablespoons of oil.
We've got 1 large Spanish onion or 2 small white onions and 2 cloves of garlic. The pan is hot, in they go. We've diced it nice and fine. In they go.
So we're just gonna cook them down and brown them for about 3 minutes on a high heat.
So while Dave's browning them, I'm gonna make what's known as a soffredo, or else a mirepoix in French cooking. So this is Italian, so obviously it's a soffredo.
So it's really just a word, a fancy word.
A fancy word to describe, we're gonna sweat some veg to create a base flavor. So typically it's a carrot, celery and onion. Okay, time to add our soffredo, or make our little soffredo. So we have our onions, they've been cooking down for 2 minutes. We're gonna add in our carrot and our celery. Probably they are chopped a little bit finer in more traditional Italian cooking. However, this is vegan, so tradition is out the window.
Yeah. So we're gonna go with a decent pinch of salt. It's just gonna help sweat them out, release the flavors and bring them all together.
So I'm gonna give it a nice kind of mix here, and I'm trying to impart or distribute the salt. Once that's ready, we are gonna pop the lid on and allow them to sweat. So in essence, we're gonna allow the juices come out and allow it to steam and to cook in its own juices. So while our soffredo is sweating down, I'm gonna prep our veg. Typically we have about 750 grams of veg. You can choose whatever type you want. It's important you have some sort of a starchy veg. That's about 300 grams of sweet potato, squash, pumpkin or normal potato. That's going to help hold the sauce together. I've courgette and I've leek, but choose whatever you like.
So this lasagna will do 6 portions, so it's a decent family size bake, great centerpiece, works really, really well. Okay, so our soffredo is looking good. We've kind of fried it down for, I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes, just sweated it away.
We're going to add in the rest of our veg. So you'll note with our sweet potato, we didn't peel it. It is organic and we've just given it a good scrub.
But so much of the fibre is actually in the skin of potatoes and root veg like that, so best not to peel them. So once again, we're going to go with a generous pinch of salt. It's going to help break down the cell walls. And once again, I'm going to pop the lid on and we'll leave that sweat for probably up to 10 minutes now.
We've preheated our oven to 180 degrees, and while that's sweating down, we're going to make our bechamel. Bechamel is a fancy term. Typically, traditionally, it's meant to have come from French cooking, but the Italians will say it came from their cooking. In essence, it's a white sauce that's been thickened with a roux. Roux is a fancy French word for equal part fat and starch, which is the thickening agent to bring our sauce together.
How would the Italians claim it if it's got roux being a French word?
They said they made it before that, bechamel.
Okay, bechamel.
Yeah, bechamel.
Okay.
Bechamel.
Bechamel, of course. Okay, so making a bechamel, equal parts flour and equal parts fat to start with. So we're going to start with oil.
We're going to go with 9 tablespoons of oil. Might seem like a lot, but we're going to make a bechamel that's based on 1.2 litres of oat milk.
And now obviously this being equal parts, I'm going in with 9 tablespoons of flour.
We're just using a white flour. Obviously if you're gluten-free, use a gluten-free flour.
So using a whisk, I'm just going to whisk it all together to whisk any lumps out of it and make it cohesive into one kind of mono texture. Just make sure to incorporate all the flour right around the edges. Okay, so with our roux, we've cooked it off for probably 2 minutes. It's come together, it's nice. We've cooked off enough so the raw flour taste is gone. Once again, we're gonna go with a little pinch of salt.
I'm gonna put in a pinch of nutmeg. Nutmeg, you can use fresh nutmeg and grate it in. We're just using ground nutmeg. You could use bay leaf, peppercorn. You could use so many different spices to add an underbelly of flavor. However, we wanna keep this pretty simple and accessible.
And we're just gonna go with a pinch of black pepper as well.
Okay, so you'll see our roux is starting to actually bubble, which is cool. So we've turned down the heat a little, and we're gonna slowly start to add in our milk. So we're using oat milk. You can use whatever type of milk you want. Oat milk does give quite a neutral flavored bechamel. So it might seem like, wow, 1.2 litres of milk into this. How is this gonna happen? But don't worry. As the milk comes to the boil, what's going to happen is the roux and the flour is going to help just thicken this sauce until we end with this creamy, delicious sauce.
Yeah, and it's surprising, like oftentimes a bechamel will have cheese through it in a more traditional one. This being vegan, we're not going to put cheese in it or vegan cheese in it, and it'll still end up creamy, decadent and delicious.
While we're sweating our veg, it's good to occasionally take the lid off and give it a good stir, because the veg down the bottom will start to char, which will incorporate a lot of flavour. But just through mixing it, you're just going to help different veg hit the bottom of the pan where the heat source is. Just put the lid back on and do it every couple of minutes until your sweet potato are soft. That's the indicator that your veg is ready. Okay, so we have sweated down our veg. You'll see they've come really nice and gooey and they're ready to rock.
The starch has really been released from the sweet potatoes. Our roux, we've come to the boil, we've let it, it's thickened right up, but we're just gonna season it before we put it all together. So once again, you're just tasting for salt and pepper and how it tastes.
A little bit.
Oh, it's so creamy,
Very
delicious and
lovely
creamy.
and again, if you do want a creamier roux, just give it more time to let it reduce. We want to keep this a little bit viscous because the starch in the sweet potato is going to thicken it up anyway. So I'm just putting a pinch of salt.
I like another little bit of black pepper.
So again, season to taste. So main thing that's going to add flavour is the salt. Black pepper will bring up a different note. You can put nutmeg if you want.
Yeah.
So next step, we're going to pour in 2/3 of our bechamel in on top of our veg here. Lovely. In on top, I've about 100 grams of frozen peas. If you don't have peas where you live, maybe you have broad beans, maybe you have edamame, they're just going to bring a freshness. I've got about 150 grams of baby spinach, which I am going to put in just to wilt down.
And it will wilt right down as soon as you put it through the heat of the bechamel and whatnot. And something which goes great, particularly in a spring veg lasagna, is two things.
We're going to put the zest of half a lemon. So try to get an organic or an unwaxed lemon, because typically they're waxed in plastic. This will just add a freshness, a zestiness, and a zing to your vegetables. Then I've got about 10 grams of fresh mint. I'm going to just chop that down nice and finely. So
And this is the second distinguishing thing in a spring lasagna that really makes it pop. The lemon and the mint, they're both fantastic flavor agents.
Oh, the lasagna looks lovely and green, doesn't it?
Smells amazing, really does, smells fantastic. And see the way it's really come together, it's come gloopy, delicious, yummy, creamy.
Time to try up your lasagna. Try to get some form of a baking tray, approximately this size. So we're going to pour in about half of our bechamel in there. And don't worry if there is a bit of skin on the top of it. We're going to spread that round. This basic bechamel is to stop, the initial sauce here is just to stop it sticking.
Okay, so using dried lasagna sheets, I always break the edges just for the corners. We're gonna pop them in. This is almost like Tetris. You're just lining everything up. Make sure and snap them. Just own it like a child would. Just kind of get in there.
Own it.
So now we're gonna go in with a layer of veg. And it is very creamy. I know it looks very vegetable centric, which might put kids off or something like this, but it really has a creamy, delicious taste to it.
So again, we put half of our veg sauce in between now. Now we're gonna add another layer of lasagna sheets. And similarly again, just make sure it fits into the corners nicely. Next step, we're going to put in the remainder of our vegetable layer.
Do you mind
if you
can help me with this? Okay, final layer of lasagna on top.
Last and final thing, we got the rest of our bechamel sauce to go on the top.
So see, and as soon as it gets baked, it's going to thicken right up.
One of the reasons why we left our bechamel a little bit runny is that the starch in the pasta is going to thicken it up too, and if you thicken it up too much, you're going to end up with kind of just a thick sauce.
Final thing, which is class, is to take some vegan Parmesan or any kind of vegan cheese. Okay, so we've preheated our oven to 180 degrees and we're gonna bake this for probably about 20 minutes until it starts to golden up.
The big thing that you're looking for is that the pasta is soft. The lasagna's been in the oven for about 25-30 minutes. It's smelling fab. Time to take her out and let's get stuck in.
Oh! Look at this, delicious.
So it looks beautiful. You'll see the pasta has soaked up lots of the sauce. It's kind of dried, crispy
It
bits.
smells fantastic. The aroma is delicious.
Okay, here's an amazing top tip and something that Italians may not necessarily agree with. Many people go to chop pasta or lasagna with the knife. Don't do that. We have about 14 years of chopping lasagna in our cafes. The best thing to cut lasagna with is with the scissors. Just literally in.
Just make sure your scissors is properly washed. That's the only thing to
Yeah,
note.
and what it will mean is that you'll actually get a clean cut on each portion size.
Okay, here we go, the final taste test. Summer spring veg lasagna.
So you see it really does hold its shape pretty well, and that's the starchy veg that's holding it. Look, very green, lovely. When even with smelling it right here, I get a nice note of lemon and mint.
Oh,
I'm
lads,
proud about-
I really am. There you go, there you have a beautiful spring white lasagna, delicious mint, lemon flavors. Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. He's doing the dance. Anyway, let us know what you think. Leave a comment below. If you try it, please tag us on social media. This is delicious, decadent, yummy, great for sharing. And thanks to you for watching. Sending loads of love. Cheers. Bye-bye.
It's incredibly tasty.